James Harden, who sucks. Everyone tells me that. He sucks. 28 points in his playoff debut as a Clipper. And the great Zubats put up a playoff career-high 20 points, 15 rebounds. And L.A. gutted. You know how you gut a turkey and you kind of carve a turkey and all that for things? That's what the Clippers did to the Mavericks. They smashed them, gutted them, however you want to say it, and they kicked the snot out of them, 109-97. That final not indicative of how big a rat kill this game was. Where are those tough guys from Dallas? So they're going to lose the number, I think. But they might call back if the Mavs win a game. But they probably won't call right now. So the Clippers led by as many as 29 points. Now, I never played in the NBA, but I think that's a lot. I think it's a fair amount. Denver, the reigning champions over the weekend, played the Lakers. That was a close game, right? That was a game the Nuggets had to come back in the second half. This game, not close. In fact, Dallas never led a second. Not a second. What's up with that? All right, so let us discuss the question. Are you more impressed with James Harden in his Clipper playoff debut, or are you stunned by Luka Doncic and the Mavericks with the suckage? So after a thorough review of this athletic contest, I've got Stockton, Zabruder, and Volcano. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make garlic fries, which would have put up more of a fight than the Dallas Mavericks against the Clippers. If they put out there a tray of garlic fries, those would have done a better job in the first half of trying to stop the Clippers. So, hey, listen, we are absolutely stunned that that's the performance by the Mavericks. How unprepared for a playoff game. Playoffs? That is an indictment of Jason Kidd. I buried the lead. Don't bury the lead, my man. I buried the lead. Kawhi Leonard does what Kawhi Leonard always does in these games. He didn't show up. Well, he was there, but he didn't play. It's unreal. This guy is unreal, man. Built out of glass. Kawhi Leonard. But that's a different conversation. Stay focused. So Kawhi didn't play. So if Kawhi doesn't play, and you're Dallas, you are absolutely set up. They are putting it there on it. It's T-ball. They're putting it on a tee, and all you have to do is swing the bat. Boom. Prime opportunity to draw first blood. And that's the Mavericks? Listen, I'm happy they had no interest in competing in the first half. I'm happy about that. Thank them. Good for them. Very appreciative. And many a coach have told me over the years that when you watch a athletic competition, the more aggressive team often wins. Not necessarily the more talented team, but the more aggressive team. Now, in this case, the Clippers are more talented from top to bottom, and they were more aggressive than Dallas in game one. And in the lead up to this game, I was reading some of the crap that was thrown out there in the media, and if you just based it off what had been written about Dallas, you would have been convinced this is an unstoppable juggernaut. That Luka Doncic and the Mavericks ran off. They were 16-2 at one stretch near the end of the regular season. Then they started resting players, so they had extra rest ahead of the postseason, so they had that going for them. You had breathless fanboys in the basketball media who said that the Mavericks were carrying real momentum. I love that. Real momentum into the postseason. And the Clippers were banged up without Kawhi Leonard. Had no chance. Okay. So that's the story. We were told the Mavericks are the team nobody wants to see in the playoffs. That was written. Who goofed? I've got to know. Who goofed? Do you know? I know. I know their names, a lot of them. So the lesson here, it's a reminder, something that we point out from time to time. We call it the Stockton in honor of the great Dick Stockton, longtime sportscaster. He's retired now, but famously, if you're new to the show, years ago, Dick Stockton was calling NFL games on Fox, and I was doing a football show on Sundays, and he came on as a guest, and Dick Stockton was doing the worst game on Fox, a absolute god-awful matchup between two morbid teams. And he was on to promote the game, and I said, listen, why would anyone want to watch this game, Mr. Stockton? I mean, it's a bad game. And he said, you know what, Ben? Stats tell you what has happened, not what's going to happen. And, yeah, of course, we know there's no such thing as momentum Not in sports. In science, there's momentum, but not in sports. And the Mavericks proved that by riding the vomit comet in that game. And by the way, the more I watch Luka, and it seems like it's a birthright, the Mavericks and the Clippers have to play each other every freaking year in the playoffs. Can we get somebody else? Is there anyone else out there? My God. Anyway, so watching the Clippers and Mavericks and seeing Luka all these years in the playoffs. Luka, he's perfect for Dallas because he reminds me a lot of Dakota Prescott. He does. Like if Dakota Prescott was if Dak Prescott was a basketball player, he'd be Luka. And if Luka was a football player, he'd be Dak. Like the more I watch Luka, stat bandito. And he fools the uneducated fan, the low information fan. He fools them. The casuals. Now, what is my evidence on this? All right, the Clippers had a 29-point lead early second half. 29-point lead. From that point forward, Luka put up 22 points. He had 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and everyone that gets all horny for stats was, oh, my God, look at his line. It's not his fault. Oh, look at his numbers. And with a wink and a nod to Kyrie Irving, because I wrote a note down on Kyrie. Kyrie Irving scored 25 points in garbage time. But you look at their numbers. Oh, they're so impressive. Oh, man. Orgasmic. Not so much. All right, now we head to Boston. And we'll go there where Jayson Tatum led the way. It was a balanced attack in another game that was non-competitive. 23 points for Tatum. Derek White had 20. The Celtics, they led this game by as many as 34. They throttled the shorthanded Miami Heatles by 20. Miami playing without Jimmy Buckets. He's likely not back at all. By the time the Heat are eliminated, he'll be in vacation somewhere in the Bahamas. But nonetheless, this game not a talker for what we do. For our purposes, not really a talker, which is a problem. So we did get a storyline. The storyline here, the subplot, it comes courtesy of Brian Scalabrine. Say what? He didn't play. No, I know he's not a player. He's a broadcaster. But he told NBC Sports Boston that he thought the Heat and Caleb Martin, that he was playing the role of the goon. He thought that the Heat put the hit on Jayson Tatum. Late game, Eric Spoelstra, this is according to Brian Scalabrine, he said Eric Spoelstra called a timeout, 1:30 left, down by 16. 30 seconds later, so about a minute to go in the game, the play happens where Caleb Martin's going up to get a rebound, or trying to get a rebound, and he undercuts Tatum. Down goes Tatum! Down goes Tatum! And Scalabrine says it looked shady to him. So did the Miami Heat target Jayson Tatum with a cheap shot? So I used the Malware microscope, and I watched this play over and over again. We went Zapruder film style, meticulous frame-by-frame analysis of this. And after about a minute of watching it over and over again, unfortunately, the answer is no. I wish I could agree with Brian Scalabrine because, boy, that would be a good story. Man, that'd be fun. That would be a good talk radio story, that the Miami Heat tried to take out Jayson Tatum at the end of the game. That would have been wonderful. The problem, and this is where I have a tough time going with it, is if you watch the play over and over again, you see that Celtic guard Drew Holiday would have to be in cahoots on this. He'd have to be in on the shenanigans. You see, Holiday actually shoved Caleb Martin into Jayson Tatum. Now, Martin was headed that way, but Drew Holiday gave him a little tap. The story here is actually let him play Joe Mazzulla, who left his starters in there at the end of the game. And in garbage time, the game was already decided, but he left his starters in and let him play Joe. Never take him out. And then that happened. Now Tatum, it appears, is okay. But that's the story. All right, last word here. We pinwheel quickly to Milwaukee, where Dame Lillard, the Dame train, Dame Lillard, put up a monster first half. He had 35 points, all of his points in the first half. The Bucks, without the Greek Freak, led by as many as 30, and they dry roasted the Pacers. That's what they did there. And many of you emailing me, I say many, two, emailed me to point out that what happened? You said Doc Rivers was going to be the undoing of the Bucks. All right, so How did the Bucks avoid the Doc Rivers effect? I'll address it. I don't care. I'm not afraid to address it. The Doc Rivers. Let me explain this, okay? And for those of you in the back of the room, the Doc Rivers voodoo doll, it works as a scatter shot, okay? It's a little scatter shot situation here. It's more like a volcano. Maybe a volcano is a better way to describe it, like a volcano, because a volcano can lay dormant for several games, in this case, in basketball. And then the unthinkable, the unimaginable happens. Indiana is such a lightweight defensively that I don't even think they know how to play defense. They don't even want to play defense, that Doc Rivers, it's conceivable he'll be all right in this round of the playoffs. It's the second round that's the issue there. But the voodoo doll will turn against Milwaukee. And Dame Lillard, massive, wonderful, great. Looked like he was back in Portland. And without Giannis there, it is kind of like he's back in Portland. But it's only a matter of when, not if. At some point, this is going to be a splendid failure. And I'll be here with a big bucket of popcorn for all of it.